Malo lava leso for Thank you so much for the opportunity. How are you this morning?
Manuia Faftai Lava, Honourable Minister, and how are you this morning?
Not bad, just to let you know and your listeners know. I'm doing this interview from my laundry because my kids are getting ready for school.
Oh, very good. Okay, Lele, Honourable Minister, Olafisili Mwafat Stuart Nash. Fresh report from last night and even this morning. Olafisili Lele, was there any cover-up in melee and communications in the time Minister? Was there any cover-up?
Absolutely not.
No?
Absolutely not. Our Deputy Prime Minister yesterday in the House on behalf of the Prime Minister made it clear it was a human error, that it wasn't escalated to the Chief of Staff or to the Prime Minister. But ultimately, with these pieces of what they call official information acts, the Minister is responsible for signing it out. So the responsibility fell on Stuart Nash. He made an error of judgment, and obviously the consequences is that he's lost his portfolio.
Okay.
He's no longer a minister.
Yeah. Okay. Honourable Minister, do you think Napier deserves a better MP immediately to represent them and help with cyclone recovery?
Yeah, so right now, that's not what Napier needs, is the change in MP, because Stuart Nash is heavily involved with setting up that recovery agency. He's still the MP. He's made it very clear. He's apologised to the people of Napier and his Ainga as well, for what he's done. And so he's committed to ensuring that he represents Napier right through the decisions he might make. But right now, what they need is he still needs to advocate for Napier and work with us all around that cyclone recovery.
Okay. There was a report on Radio New Zealand. The headlines goes like this: Homeless in Paradise. Queenstown residents living in cars, tents. You are the Associate Minister for Housing. Do you think the government is doing anything that will solve this problem in Queenstown?
So Queenstown obviously has a particular issue with really high house prices. They've had that issue for a while, and actually when I was working as a tax official, I helped the Queenstown Lake District Council and the officials down there around some measures, around tax measures for some status for their housing entity that they had set up there. But actually more in general, we're committed to making sure that we build more houses. That's the only way you can bring down rents, and it's the only way you can make it more affordable for people to buy their homes. For me in particular, obviously being a Pacific person, it's important that we do what we've committed to in our Whale Mo Ainga, the Pacific Housing Strategy and our action plan. So that's a targeted response for our Pacific families. But, we've got progressive home ownership, first home loans, first home grant, first home partner, KiwiSaver, first home withdrawal programs. We also have that Pacific Financial Capability Program that's led by the Ministry for Pacific Peoples. So through the funding the ministry provides to organisations like churches, some of the church groups, what they do is they work with their people to figure out how they can help with their finances to help save for a deposit. And it's about lifting the financial literacy for our Pacific families. So it is a really big issue. We absolutely are trying to address it. But the number one solution for all of it is for us to build more houses. And we have increased the number on public housing, which is also available for affordable home ownership. And it's the largest housing initiative since the 1970s. So this is a long-time problem that's been in the making, and we're committed to doing something about it.
Yeah, well, as you said, it's been many years. Housing has been a problem, not only in Queenstown but the whole of New Zealand. So, what do you think? Is the government heading to something that will solve the problem as soon as possible?
Yeah. So one of the key things is that climate order, which is now the old Housing New Zealand, it has a bigger mandate. So before it used to be just the management of public houses. Now we've brought the building side to it. So that's why we have the amount of homes that we've built over the last few years. And so if I think about it more practically, say for Porirua, where I live, in eastern Porirua, we're working with the local community around building large-scale housing a large-scale housing initiative. So that's 340 million that's been allocated to eastern Porirua. But then if I think about Auckland as well, it's working with some of our community housing provider up there, Penina, to also support them with the building of houses. One of the other things that I'm really focused on is that we work with some of our churches who have large land holdings on creating more housing supply. So my officials and other government officials from housing as well are partnering with other like-minded organisations to help them become community housing providers. That's what they call a CHIP. And then working with them about planning how they can use the land that they hold to build more houses on it for their people.
Honourable Minister Barbara Edmonds, you did mention the Minister for STA in Samoa, George Sulu Cedric's sister and Associate Minister Falumavanga. Did you have a time to catch up with them before they left yesterday?
Unfortunately, not with Honourable Schuster, but I've actually met with him last year when he was here as well, organising the malanga from the Māori tourism to Samoa. And so New Zealand Māori tourism has reciprocated and has brought over a group from Samoa here and has taken them through a tour in the last week. So I wasn't able to catch up with the Honourable Schuster yesterday, or it was I think 2 days ago when he met with Honourable Pini Henare. But I have caught up with. It's really bad. I keep saying his name's Dicky because obviously with his rugby sevens, but Associate Minister Faluma Vainga, Papua. So I did catch up with him earlier last week on Thursday. We had a really good discussion around what is it about what makes Pacific be attractive on both sides, both to New Zealand and to Samoa. Obviously, it's really around some of the indigenous offerings of our tourism is really important, for Māori and for Samoa. And a lot of people, that's why they come to New Zealand or Samoa, is for that indigenous experience. But, you can't avoid speaking rugby with the brother. So we had a good chat, and we also had TJ Perenara, Ken Ahoy, and Ken Laban, who with us, just to be able to talk about, the achievements of 685. But also, that even though that was the rugby league, we know that for Samoa rugby, it's so important around our sports being active and also the opportunities we have, even through some of our franchises like Moana Pacifica, the Fiji Drua, to lift the profile of our countries through those means.
Okay, Honourable Minister, so what do you know? What is something important that will take with them back to Samoa? And if society tourism in Samoa, for more attractions, for more tourists in Samoa, you have society for the economy in Samoa. Yeah,
so that's really for Samoa Tourism Association, for them to work with us about how they want to market it in New Zealand. But obviously with the tourism operators, it was to come over here to see models of how Māori tourist operators here, can do things in a way that's sustainable for them, not just economically, but also environmentally. That's a very key thing I know for both Samoa and New Zealand when it comes to our tourism offerings. So the main thing is that for them it's like a study tour, for them to be able to take away some of the things they think they can apply into their own operations back in Samoa. And so I think you can only really do that if you can see it for yourself. So I know the tourism group, they went to Rotorua. The team in Sava'i, the high trees, the tree, the bridges, etc. in Sava'i where you can go through where they're right up high in the canopy, they took the team to the one in Redwood, which is in Rotorua, which is very similar but on a bigger scale. So it's very much up to those individual tourist operators to take the lessons they learn, but then for obviously having their ministers with them, it's also a policy program for them to consider and to see how, and then to reach back out to us about how we can assist them with that.
Okay, Honourable Minister, before I let you go, can you give us an update on cyclone relief funds from
Yeah, so we still have what happened last week is when we met with the recovery agencies is that we agreed to a sort of timeline around some decisions. We've asked the insurance companies for data around what they anonymised data, because obviously it's commercially sensitive, but the high-risk areas for them that they need key decisions on about whether they can rebuild or not. We then also asked the local authorities, the Hawke's Bay District Councils, etc., to provide us with, the Napier District Council, Hastings, to give us their data. So what we're going to do over the next week is, to Brian Roach, who's the chair of the task force, is putting together that data, and we will get a paper about overlaying that information so we can try and make some decisions as to what can be rebuilt, what shouldn't be, or what needs to come back to the community for more consultation. So that work is in train at the moment, and we hopefully will be able to make some decisions, not all of them, next week once we have that data put together in a report.
Honourable Minister Barbara Edmonds, Whawhatai Tele Lawa, thank you so much for your time. For your time, well, Maria Lava Favor and Nias for really, but we have what finger kang abel.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's raining here in Porirua, so there's no kanga here today. Yeah. But at least it's quiet, eh? No children came through this interview with a carrot like the Deputy Prime Minister. So, yeah.
Whawhatai Tele Lawa, Maria Lava and Niaso.